Hi friends, this video is going to be really helpful for you because I'm with an IELTS expert teacher today and he's going to share 3 tips to help you improve your speaking. Okay, before we jump into those tips, I want to introduce my friend here today. His name is Jack and he runs the popular YouTube channel IELTS Plus. So if you're interested in IELTS exams, definitely visit that YouTube channel. So Jack, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Jack and I'm an IELTS tutor here in South Korea. I have my online business, as Luke said, is IELTS Plus. And we have lots of videos, a podcast, various things over there. So I'd love to see you.
Cool. And today you're sharing 3 tips on how to improve your speaking for IELTS and Duolingo, right?
Yeah, right. So, you know, the IELTS speaking and the Duolingo speaking have a lot of similarities, right?
Yeah, exactly. So especially the read then speak question on a Duolingo test, that is really similar to the IELTS Part 2,
right,
where you're given a prompt where you read and have to respond for 90 seconds for Duolingo, 2 minutes for IELTS.
Yeah, which is really challenging. And then in the IELTS test, the speaking test, we have Part 1, which is sort of short answer, and then Part 3, which are kind of bigger issues we deal with and require a longer answer.
Right, right. But Part 2 is really similar to the Duolingo speaking. So we're lucky today because Jack is going to share 3 tips on how to improve your speaking score.
So tip number 1 is regarding how to lengthen your answers.
Okay.
It's really hard, right? You know, it's very easy to give a direct answer, which is short, but how to add information to that, a lot of my students struggle.
Yeah, and that's actually really important for the Duolingo test. If you go onto the scoring criteria on the Duolingo guide, then fluency is a big part of that. And under fluency, it says how long you can speak for. Right?
Okay.
So if you can speak for longer, let's say 70 seconds or 90 seconds, then you will probably get a better score overall.
Right, and it's the same in the IELTS test. If you don't get to 2 minutes in Part 2, you're penalized. And with the other questions as well, you really have to add as much information as possible.
Okay, so what's your tip?
So IELTS Plus, I give my students trigger patterns. Now, trigger patterns are designed to trigger a long example.
Okay, good.
So a lot of my students really struggle to give an example. And I thought, well, how can we fix that? And I made a number of patterns you can use which will trigger a story of some sort. My favorite ones are when I was young. So of course, you're going to tell a story from your childhood probably, which is very easy, right? We can very often link an answer to our childhood. Another one is last week I went to. And very often you can easily link that to an answer, and maybe you went to a supermarket, a church or something like that. And naturally you'll be able to add a story to your answer and lengthen the answer.
Okay, great. So should we try?
Okay, yeah. Why don't you give me like a typical question you get in the Duolingo test, and I'll try my trigger pattern method.
Okay, great. So a very common question that comes up on the Duolingo practice test goes like this. Describe a time you were surprised. What happened? How did you feel?
Recently, I was hiking with my friends and we climbed a mountain and I slipped on some rock and fell down. So that made me very surprised. When I was young, I used to do rock climbing at home. I was actually quite skillful at rock climbing and I had lots of experience. So I was really shocked when I actually slipped on quite an easy hike. So what do you think?
I think that worked really well. So you were able to talk about a recent experience and link it back to your childhood.
Yeah.
So you're able to develop your idea and speak for longer.
Yeah.
Awesome.
My next tip is about vocabulary.
Okay, very important.
Yeah, and as we all know, and I think a lot of your viewers will be thinking they want to upgrade their vocabulary, right?
Right.
There's so many ways to do it, but I'm just going to give you my very quick and easy method to do it, and that's by using extreme adjectives.
Okay.
So firstly, what is an extreme adjective? This is an adjective that means the same as very plus adjective. So for example, very hot is the same as boiling. Boiling is the extreme adjective. The reason I say this as a quick tip to improve your vocabulary is you can make a list of your very common adjectives. good, bad, hot, cold, tasty. Find the extreme adjective, very easy. There are lists. I have a video on my channel, and you can upgrade your vocabulary in that way. So you can add those new extreme adjectives and just try to use them in your answers. It's actually a fairly easy way to add 20 or 30 words to your spoken English.
And as you guys know, lexical diversity is on the scoring criteria for the Duolingo English test. And this is what Jack is talking about.
Yeah.
You don't want to use repeated vocabulary. Instead, you want to use different words to express different things. So extreme adjectives is an easy way to do this.
Yeah, exactly. So just to give a quick example, rather than saying the movie was very good, you'd say the movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
Rather than saying the weather is bad, you'd say the weather is awful. Very easy. My last tip is about intonation. So what is intonation?
This is like the music in our sentences.
Yeah.
The ups and downs of our voice when we're speaking.
Yeah, right. So it's very important to sound more fluent, which of course is a part of the scorecard, fluency and coherence for IELTS. You've got to have nice intonation and not robot-like voice like this. So how can we do that? I think my number one tip for that is focus on the start of your answers. You know, it's very hard while you're speaking to think, oh, I've got to have more intonation. It's very hard to do that, right? But it's quite easy to always start your answers powerfully. So could you just ask me a question?
Yeah, how was your weekend?
It was really interesting. So in that case, of course, it's a little bit exaggerated, but rather than starting flat and it was really interesting, I'm hitting it very hard from the start, and naturally the rest of your answer will tend to follow on with more intonation.
And just like Jack said, using intonation will definitely improve your Duolingo score, using things like intonation at the end of sentences and stress in a sentence too.
Yeah.
It was really interesting, for example. The word interesting would get the main stress in that sentence.
Yes, good. So very important for your fluency, and something, I spend a lot of time on with my students.
Yeah. Okay, so those were the tips, but before we finish, Jack, where can our students find more about you?
Yeah, so firstly, thank you for having me on today. I really enjoyed it. And you can come and see me on YouTube at IELTS Plus. So if you search IELTS Plus, you'll find me there. I focus on the IELTS exam, of course. And I think one of the features of my channel is the podcast. So I have a weekly podcast every Wednesday. Every podcast is a different topic. So I hope you come and enjoy that. It might even help your Duolingo.
I'm sure it will.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon.
Yes, see you soon. Bye-bye.